Welcome to Kickstart 2017. It's great to have you with us, and thank you for making time to get intentional about what will make your next year, or if you have just moved abroad, then what will make your time abroad fantastic. So the reason I kind of put this process together is I've been doing this now for about 3-4 years, and the main reason was because I really struggled to actually get out of bed when we first moved abroad. I moved with my husband's job, and I would get up and have breakfast with him and then quite often go back to bed. That wasn't the me 6 months prior to that. When we lived in London, I was up at 6, cycled to work, loved my job, had great group of friends, was busy. And so I kind of just lost all sense of purpose of who I was and what I was doing, and I didn't really have anything exciting to get out of bed. So I kind of thought, oh, well, this isn't really very good. Some things have to change. And so I just put together a very simple process of giving myself something to do every day, something that got me out of the house, got me exploring Johannesburg, and that's how the review of the year has been created. Hi, welcome, whoever's just joined us by phone. It's great to have you. You're just in time. So what we're going to do is this workshop will probably take about 40 minutes, and it's not the same as previous years. So I've given you the worksheet, and I'm going to ask you to complete the worksheet. You can either do it at the end of this call or in your own time. So I'm not going to give you time to complete it now. So you can scribble notes as I'm talking on it and then take it away. But to start off with, talk to me. Who is here and what are your experiences? Are you living abroad? Yeah, and I will try and see. Yeah, Eva, there we go. Thank you. Welcome from the Netherlands. Yeah, it's very good. You're multitasking. I'm impressed. I've got Granny and Pop staying with us. They fly home on Sunday, sadly. So they are currently on babysitting duty. It's very exciting. Anyone else saying hi? Do so in the chat. And maybe if you could describe your experiences of expat life in 2, 3, 4 words. So unpacking, stressful, overwhelming, exciting, exploring, learning new languages, whatever it has been so far for you, how would you summarize it? And just put that over in the chat. Okay. Oh, hi, Gemma, welcome. It's good to have you with us. You might, I said it to Eva too, as much as we would love to hear you, you might want to put yourself on mute unless you want to have a question and chip in, which is great. But just a little tip there. Okay, so let's go back. So if you open your, can you hear those hardy-dars? Oh, that's a South African word for you right there. Anyway, so open your workbook. Page 1 is looking back. And what I want you to do here is I want you to set an alarm for 3 minutes, and I want you to write all of your frustrations, all of your hurts, any disappointments, jot them down in that list. And then when the timer goes on your phone, set it for another 3 minutes and continue going for another 3 minutes. 6 minutes will seem like eternity, but you will get so far deep into your brain on that paper, it will be amazing. So anything that you've left behind, and you could do this for either for the last year, so for 2016, or you could do it for your whole expat assignment since you've moved abroad. So just anything that you've left behind. So it might be strengths or skills that you used to really enjoy using and you don't get to do them anymore, or it might be that you haven't been acknowledged for stuff that you do and you just feel a little bit down or frustrated about that. A good thing I do is I go through my diary or look through my photos on my phone at all the stuff I've done, because you forget, and then you can just jot those down. Any dreams that you might not have anymore, just put those down. So that's your first exercise. Once you've done that, then I want you to go through and you process every single one. So we're leaving behind that excess luggage. So you go through and you either cross it out, scribble it out, rip it up, or you circle it if you think, that's quite interesting, I didn't realise that, or oh, that relates to this, or that made me really angry. And often things that make us angry are because our values have been threatened. So it's often, if we really value, I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. If you really value peace and quiet when you come home and it's absolutely crazy, or if you really value diversity and somebody in a conversation is just completely nationalistic, then that's one of your values has been triggered. You can't help yourself but get into a situation where you're just so passionate about that. Or another one might be breastfeeding, or how you gave birth to your child, or whatever it is. Why is that of particular importance to you? And it's just to ask yourself that question. So you jot that down on page 1. Is there any questions on that before we move on? Hang on, sorry, I have to keep going back to the other screen to see the chat. Thanks, Eva. Oh, I'm glad you like the checklist. So you know the feeling of not working anymore. It's a bit crazy. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So guys, there is the chat as well, so you can type if you want to type, or you can come off mute and join the conversations also, absolutely fine. So just carry on, and I will pop back and have a look at the chat every now and then. Okay, let's go back to our worksheets. So once you've done the frustrations and the moments, as I like to call them, from 2016, you can either rip the page up or keep processing it, but it's quite important that to cross off the stuff that really we shouldn't be taking with us any further. So yeah, I think that's everything on the frustration. So then if you turn the page over, oh no, I love this quote. And particularly relevant if you've just moved to a country and you're finding it a bit hard, or you're going through a bit of a tough time at the moment. Often it's not about waiting for something to pass. It's how we can adapt and how we can see the positives and how we can learn to dance in the rain. Okay, so these are the days to remember. So 6 minutes again, and you're going to go through that same process that you did for the frustrations, but this time looking at all the fun stuff that you did, everything that you're proud of achieving or experiencing, or the fun times that you had. Who did you meet? Who have you spent lots of time with? We don't live in isolation, so jot down the people, the experiences. You might have learned some new skills. And often we kind of forget to do this, and it's amazing what pops up, all the amazing stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis, or how far we've come from this time last year. So a real time just to pat yourself on the back and say, oh, actually, last year wasn't so bad, or flip me, look how far I come. And so it's not a chance to beat yourself up, it's just a chance to appreciate and to have the gratitude of all the achievements and the skills and the experiences, and the nights out or the dinners or the travel that you've had. And then the same thing. So then you go through and you can circle any similarities or any that are like, oh, I really enjoyed doing that. I wonder why I really enjoyed doing that. Is that a value to me? Do I love cultural experiences? Do I love going to the theatre? Do I love music and singing? Or maybe I should take up joining a choir, or whatever it might be. So first of all, just put down the actual experiences first. Don't try and process it whilst you're doing the experiences. So you just put it all down first, and then you go back through and process the kind of, okay, so what do I now do with this information? Does that all make sense? Any questions on either of those two exercises? So sadly, we don't have time to kind of complete the exercises here and now, but I would encourage you, once we've kind of stopped, that you do it later this evening. Just get it done. Put your time aside and get that done. Ah, Sarah. Oh, I didn't realise you're in Switzerland now. We've got Hannah. Is Hannah on the line yet? Let me see. Oh, she is. Hannah. Sarah's in Switzerland. Hannah is moving to Switzerland. Sadly, I'm not going to cry in a few weeks. So, yeah. Oh, but it's great. It's great to have you guys here. Okay, any questions or anything you want to share? Okay. Then finally is the kind of the box at the bottom of page 2 is for you to be creative, if you want to be creative. So how could you sum up the year, your year, if it was a film? So what genre would it be? Would it be a comedy? Would it be a tragedy? Would it be a love story? What would it be? And even if you want to kind of write a bit of the script or write the title. So how would you summarize the year? And I kind of try to do this every year, and it's really great to look back at 5 years ago and kind of see the different years that I've had. So just a quick summary of after you've done those 2 exercises. Okie dokie. And if there aren't any more questions, then I will go back to our presentation. And we are looking forward at what will make 2017 flipping brilliant, the best that you've had, or what will make your next move abroad. So if you're doing this for your next assignment, then what will make your move to Switzerland absolutely fantastic. And I have split this into 3 sections that we're going to cover. Firstly, mindset. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And Henry Ford said that. And it's been such a critical thing and learning for me over the past 3 years of just how important our beliefs and our mind is. It's fascinating. I've got lots of research on the neuroscience behind it. But and there was, I don't know if you've seen that video of a special needs teacher who every morning praises every single child for their particular strength or what they've done. And just the sense of community in that classroom is incredible. Every child so confident in their own abilities, in their own strengths. There's no comparison, and they all just praise one another. It's so lovely. So we're going to talk a bit about mindset. Then we couldn't do a Kickstart workshop without talking about our goals. And then finally, a cup of tea. I've got my cup of tea. Just a chance to press pause, to slow down, and to check in with yourself. So we're going to start off by focusing on mindset and comparison particularly. So comparison is the thief of joy. And I don't know if you've ever looked at somebody else or been jealous of someone else and they just seem so successful. Why are they so successful and I'm not? And it is not because you're not working hard enough or you're not clever enough. It's just that your time has not come yet. So they're at a different stage or a different phase of their life. And I talk about, you may have seen this before, the cultural adjustment curve, and I've done there's a whole module in the Identity Project on this. But it's just about the different stages that you go through when you're adjusting to change. So it's the same with any change management as it is for moving abroad into transition. So everything is exciting, and then you crash and have a shock, and then you go back up again. And that crash and the shock is when the comparison, and comparison is a big one for me. For you, it might be that you just get negative. It might be that you start blaming other people. It might be that you get frustrated. Maybe you know some of your trigger points. If you do and you're happy to share them, brilliant, put it in the chat. We won't judge you, but it just might be helpful if you do know what some of your trigger points are for when to help you identify when you're at a low. Because if you can then identify it, then you know what are the important things. And on page 3, the first one, clarity on what is and what isn't important. If you know what is important, what are the things that make you tick? What are the things that make you perform at your best? So for me, I have to have exercise. I have to have sleep. I have to have time with my children and my husband, and I have to have time working on a project or doing something outside the house. So those are just some of the things for me. I have to be surrounded by friends or a friend, whether that's going out for a drink or whatever. So whenever I am feeling a bit low or depressed or blaming and comparing myself, I stop myself and I think, right, next week, let's plan in to do things differently. Let's pull me back out and get me back to the adaptation, start that curve back up again, and exercising or going out for a drink with some girls or doing putting a time aside to do some work really helps to be proactive. So tell us, what are some of the things that you need to make you tick and to make you perform at your best? What are some of your trigger points that pull you down, that will highlight when you need to actually start doing something a bit differently? And this curve, you can't speed it up. There's no way of speeding it up. So you can pull yourself up, but then sadly with adjustment, something happens and you're straight back down again. And so you just have to be kind with yourself and know that somebody else is at a different stage or a different phase to where you are. And so stop comparing and just start refocusing on what it is you're doing and how you are going to make the most out of this year or this assignment. Is there any questions? This is quite a big topic. So are there any questions on this before I move on? Are you all still with me? This is where your microphone should be good, and then you could just go, yes, I'm still with you. Okay, I'm just going to take that as a good sign that you're all still with me. Eva's probably cooking dinner. Oh, no, she's there. Perfect. Okay, so if you do know any of your trigger points, put them in the chat. Or if you know any of the things that you need to include in your weekly routine, or things that you need to make sure you have so that you perform at your best, then also put those in, because that would be quite helpful, I think, for all of us. Okie dokie. So, also on page 3 is a bit about mindset. I just wrote a blog post on it, so I thought it would be useful to put it in. But I haven't actually published a blog post yet because this week's been crazy, on Carol Dweck and the expat mindset. So that's just again about helping us get out of that comparison, and how we can easily just change our self-talk and what we're saying to ourselves to a slightly more positive, rather than, oh, I'm just rubbish at this, I suck at this, people aren't going to like me anyway, why do I bother? So that's on page 3. Then on page 4, we're talking all about goals. And if you were on the workshop last year, we did a massive 2-hour workshop on how to set goals. If you've been through any of my other courses in the Identity Project, I also talk a lot about goals. Goals are really helpful to make us intentional. Nobody has ever left a great legacy by accident. It has always been intentionally planned. So what are your crazy goals, your Olympic gold? What is that? And there's a process that you can go through, looking at your values and then drawing out, okay, so if one of my values is connection or being with people, then how can I make that come alive on a daily basis? And then but the Olympic gold medals aren't won or lost actually at the Olympics. What happens at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning when they choose to get up to do that extra run is what makes the difference between winning and losing. So it's then breaking that goal down into something specific that you're going to do regularly. So for example, one of my crazy goals is to be a happy, fun, open mother. So that then for me looks like a number of things on a weekly basis. So time with each one of my children, and picking them up from school, and cooking for them. And I've put that into my weekly routine at certain times because that means a lot to me in one of my crazy goals. I hope that makes sense. Another way that you could do, so if goals doesn't really work for everybody, so if it doesn't really work for you because life changes and you don't have a clue where you're going to be in 3 months' time, so how on earth can you set goals? That's absolutely fine. Just write down in this big section on page 4, 10 things that you want to do in the next 3 months, or write a bucket list. Or put together your weekly routine. And if there's one thing I would urge you to do, it's figure out what makes you brilliant and what makes you at your best. What are the conditions you need? So maybe it's 8 hours sleep a night, maybe it's to have a morning routine where you're starting the day off in a positive light, whatever it is, and put that into a routine that you then stick to. Another question that you could ask in this brainstorming section on figuring out what's important to you for this year is, if you knew you would be 100% successful, what would you do? Or if you didn't care what anyone else thought of you, what would you do this year? So this is just a chance to brainstorm. If you know your values and you've got some values that you want to build upon, brilliant, put them in, and then do a brainstorm around how they can take form in your weekly routine. Um, and then finally, drink lots of tea. You're 42% more likely to achieve your goals simply if you write them down. So if you just have one word for the year that you want to keep focused, or for me, it's consistency. So this year, I want to consistently show up and have the same weekly routine week after week. That's all I'm going to try and focus on. And then I'm going to break my year into 3 months and put together projects and things within that 3 months. So I'm not going to have massive goals for this year. Secondly, ask for help. The biggest difference last year I made, it was in my health, and that was because I got a personal trainer, and was in my business, and that's because I got a phenomenal business coach. Two of the things that cost me a lot of money, but I made the biggest progress. So if there are areas where you're really struggling to make any progress, then who else can help you? Get an expert, pay the money, and make small steps. And then regularly check in. So have a date with yourself every month or every week, and look back and make sure if your weekly routine is actually representative of your values and of the person that you actually want to be. So similar to the process that I'm taking you through this evening, do that. What's working well? What isn't working well? And there are loads. I mean, I give free printouts quite often through my mailing list, but there's loads online. The Passion Planner, the Daily Planner, there's beautiful diaries now that ask you questions at the end of every month. So lots of ways that you can stay focused on the things that matter most to you. And just by checking in with yourself and with your partner. And then just to celebrate a bit more, there was a wonderful, I've got a wonderful nanny that we have put through training, and she had a graduation at the end of the year. And I was a bit cynical about this graduation because it was only a half year of a diploma. But I tell you, it was so special to her, and I needed to be a bit more American and a bit less British, and to celebrate all of her hard work and her achievements. So celebrate the wins this year. And get started. So after this, we've got about 5 minutes left where I can take questions. But after this, take your worksheets, get yourself a glass of wine, and go and set yourself timers and go through it now. No more excuses. And then I would love you to email me and let me know what are some of the things you're working on this year. And if you found this process useful, or how else I can help you make the most of your time abroad. But you don't have to know. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just start getting out there and do something that gets you out of bed every single day. And I hope you have found this useful. As I said, nobody has ever left a legacy by accident. It has always been through intentional planning and steps. And often that's so much easier said than done, especially when you first move abroad and you have to find the house, and you have to find your car, and you have to get the schools, and you have to get everyone else settled. And then all of a sudden the weeks turn into the months, and the months into the years, and you're off again. And before you know it, you're so far away from any of those initial dreams or any of that intention that you had. And so if that's you, come join us in February. We're going to have 3 videos that talk you through how you can maximize your time abroad. So we've got mindset stuff, we've got homesickness stuff, so the kind of comparison and how to get yourself back out of a rut. And then we've got relationships and how we can maximize our relationships whilst abroad. So to sign up for that, you just need to go onto the website. Let me just see if I've got that one, this one. So it is www.translatingme.org/success-abroad. So I can send you that out, it's fine. So if you want to get off mute, if you've got any questions, we've got 5 minutes left. Sorry, this was so short. I had a nightmare. I used to use Google Hangouts and now I can't use Google Hangouts. So I use Zoom, but I'm using the free version because it was so ridiculously expensive. So that's why we only have 5 minutes left. Sorry. Yeah. So, oh my goodness, Gemma, you are in that stage where you just need to take every day at a time. 3-month and 3-year-old. You will get there. You are definitely a person at the moment that will get there. And thank you for sharing that. So does that all make sense? Is there any questions that anyone has? Feel free to come off mute and be brave and ask them through your own voice or on the chat, whichever works for you. Oh, maybe do I have to unmute you? Oh well. Oh, bless you, Eva. I know that feeling oh so well. And you're trying to cook dinner. I really appreciate you coming on. That's so kind of you, trying to do multitasking everything. Incredible, incredible. And look forward to seeing you in February on the Success Abroad series. So thank you for joining us. Yes, Gemma, I hope so. I'm trying to record it, so hopefully it's worked. If it hasn't worked, I will re-record it tomorrow and send it out to you. So yeah, I can do it all again. And also, if you want to, there's still last year's. If you want the more in-depth one, then just go back and do last year's as well. That's on YouTube, so I can put the link into that for more on anchor goals and crazy goals and how to actually set goals. But I've just found I spent so long setting goals and then stuff changed. So I just needed to be a bit more flexible. So now I'm trying to just do stuff as on kind of principles and creating a week that works for me rather than a big old goal. Ah, Sarah, it doesn't work. God, it's Switzerland, it's Europe, it's meant to be good at that kind of thing. But no worries at all. Okay, perfect. So if that's it from everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Have a lovely evening, and any questions or any feedback as ever, please do email me. I'm on this massive learning curve, and I really appreciate you taking the time to join us, and hopefully you will have a phenomenal year wherever in the world you do end up. Perfect. Bye for now.